going to show you a place that is simultaneously one of the most vibrant, artistic cultures on Earth and the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. But how does that happen? How does a nation that achieved history's most impossible victory get instantly shackled by billions of dollars in debt? Well, that's what we're here to find out, because we're pulling back the curtain on Haiti. Long before any European flags were planted, Haiti was home to vibrant indigenous communities, primarily the Taino people, who called the land Quisqueya or Haiti. Then in December 1492, Christopher Columbus landed on the north coast and claimed the entire island for Spain, renaming it La Isla Española, which you know today as Hispaniola. Now, the Spanish found gold in the eastern part of the island, and what followed was a complete tragedy. The Taino people, who are estimated to have numbered around 500,000, were brutally enslaved to work in the mines, but their bodies simply weren't equipped for the European diseases and the relentless, inhuman conditions. So by 1508, the Taino population had been reduced to about 60,000. By 1548, there were reportedly fewer than 500 left. But as the gold ran out, Spain's interest shifted to the richer finds in Mexico and Peru. They authorized the importing of enslaved people from Africa in 1570. But they mostly neglected Hispaniola, leaving the western part open to French and British pirates. Eventually, French buccaneers settled in the west. Fast forward to 1697. Through the Treaty of Rysvik, Spain formally ceded the western third of the island to France, and this new French colony was given the name Saint-Domingue. And wow, did the French make it work. By the end of the 18th century, Saint-Domingue was the single richest colony in the world, the Pearl of the Antilles. By 1789, the population was roughly 556,000, and of that, around 500,000 were enslaved Africans. Imagine that imbalance. Among the remaining 56,000 people, 32,000 were European colonists, and 24,000 were affranchis, or free people of mixed African and European descent. It honestly was a ticking time bomb, which exploded in 1791. Inspired by the French Revolution and driven by the utter desperation of their enslavement, a major slave revolt swept through the north. And thus began the Haitian Revolution. Who steps up to lead this colossal movement? A former enslaved man named Toussaint Louverture. The situation gets even more chaotic when the British invaded in 1793, trying to seize the colony for themselves. But in 1794, the new French Republic decided to abolish slavery, and Louverture joined forces with the French to kick out the British. Eventually, he became Lieutenant General and effectively ran the colony. But then you have Napoleon Bonaparte taking power in France in 1799, and you know how that went. Napoleon had big ideas. And in 1802, after Louverture created a separatist constitution, Napoleon's forces showed up, kidnapped Toussaint, and shipped him back to France, where he died in prison in 1803. At this point, they thought they had snuffed out the flame, but boy were they wrong. Toussaint's leading general, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, took the helm. And on November 18th, 1803, at the Battle of Vertières, Dessalines decisively defeated Napoleon's army. The French commanders fled, and just a few weeks later, on January 1st, 1804, Dessalines proclaimed the country independent in Gonaives. He renamed the country Haiti, reclaiming the original Taino name for the island. But that's not the end of our story, because just when you thought Haiti succeeded, no European state, and not even the United States, recognized it as a new nation. Why? Well, because they were terrified of the message it sent to their own enslaved populations. So Dessalines, following Napoleon's lead, declared himself emperor in September 1804, but his reign was tragically short. He was assassinated on October 17th, 1806, sparking a civil war that split the country. The country was eventually reunified in 1821 under Jean-Pierre Boyer. But then came the ultimate blow. In 1825, with French warships looming off the coast, France demanded that Haiti pay a colossal 150 million gold francs in compensation for their loss of capital. Or in other words, their slaves and plantations. They said this was the price for diplomatic recognition. Later on, the debt was reduced to 90 million gold francs, but still, Haiti had to take out massive, high-interest loans just to pay it. And by 1900, the country was spending 80% of its national budget on repayments. That debt, that absolute anchor on the country's development, wasn't finally paid off until 1947, 122 years later. Now, you know what happens when a new nation is born free but immediately crippled by debt and shunned by the world? That's right. Instability ensues. So, from 1843 to 1915, Haiti had 22 presidents, and only one completed his term. Then, in 1915, the US government used the murder of a Haitian president by a mob as a pretext to occupy the country, fearing German and French influence. This US occupation lasted until 1934 and established American financial and political domination. Though the occupation ended, the US essentially continued to control the country through the local elite for another decade. After a few turbulent years, a black ex-teacher named François Duvalier, known simply as Papa Doc, was elected president in 1957. Although what started with some hope quickly devolved into a terrifying 14-year dictatorship. Wary of the traditional army, Papa Doc established his own ruthless militia, the Tontons Macoutes, or National Security Volunteers, who crushed all opposition with extreme repression. In 1964, he declared himself president for life. When Papa Doc died in 1971, his 19-year-old son, Jean-Claude "Baby Doc" Duvalier, took over the title. But after a revolt in 1986, Baby Doc fled Haiti, ending the 29-year Duvalier dynasty. The period that followed was a dizzying, frustrating carousel of coups, short-lived presidents, and military overthrows. Then you have the rise and fall of former Salesian priest Jean-Bertrand Aristide, who won the first truly free elections in 1990, only to be overthrown, returned, re-elected, and eventually forced to resign and leave the country in 2004 amid armed conflict. Adding to the political chaos, Haiti is constantly battling nature. A string of devastating hurricanes and tropical storms in the mid-2000s, like Jean in 2004 and Gustav and Ike in 2008, hammered the country, destroying crops and infrastructure. And then came the big one. On January 12, 2010, a catastrophic 7.0 magnitude earthquake hit Port-au-Prince. The scale of the death and destruction was unbelievable, and despite billions in international aid pledges, poor distribution, instability, and a subsequent cholera outbreak made recovery incredibly difficult. Today, the story remains deeply challenging. Which brings us to this topic. And let's be real, Haiti's politics right now are defined by a total institutional meltdown. The last president, Jovenel Moïse, was assassinated in his home in July 2021. So, right now, there's an interim government, the Transitional Presidential Council, or TPC, trying to hold things together. They're trying to steer the country back to democracy, which is why they announced a general election starting in August 2026. That's the good news. The bad news: the head of their election council said that first, they must restore security. Because without safety, how are people supposed to vote? The situation went totally haywire in early 2024, when armed gangs basically forced the former Prime Minister to step down. As of late 2025, these groups control a terrifying amount of territory, including large chunks of the capital, Port-au-Prince. And let's just say the numbers are brutal. Millions of people displaced, over 3,000 were killed, and over 1,000 were injured. It's a humanitarian catastrophe, and it's why the UN had to approve a tougher, more powerful gang suppression force. Which is why it's no wonder that Haiti is the poorest country in the entire Western Hemisphere. Its GDP was around $25.22 billion in 2024. In 2025, we're looking at a small increase of about $31 billion. The economy is vulnerable because it relies so heavily on outside money. First, there are remittances. That's the money sent home by Haitians working abroad. That cash is a lifeline, totaling around $3.9 billion in 2024, which alone accounted for 15.5% of the country's entire GDP. Second, Haiti runs a massive trade deficit, meaning it buys way more stuff from other countries than it sells, and that deficit was over 15% of GDP in 2024. Even though their main businesses are agriculture and making clothes, they just can't keep up. And remember that crushing colonial debt we talked about? Well, despite getting over $13 billion in international aid after the 2010 earthquake, Haiti's debt has sadly started creeping up again due to new loans and corruption. The debt is forecasted to equal roughly 12% of its GDP in 2025. What about a source of easy cash, like tourism? That has practically vanished. Because think about it, in 2018, Haiti saw 1.3 million tourists, bringing in $620 million. By 2021, that number plummeted to just 148,000 travelers, generating only about $80 million. And as of 2024, tourist arrivals were virtually non-existent due to extreme gang violence, political instability, and widespread crime. So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Besides its history and shaky politics, what is it about Haiti that makes it such a battleground? And why is this tiny nation's physical location so critical in our story? Well, to answer that, we have to ground ourselves in the basics. Haiti is sitting right between the Caribbean Sea and the North Atlantic Ocean. It takes up the western side of the island of Hispaniola, which it shares with its neighbour, the Dominican Republic, on the east. Besides that, Haiti is also neighbours with Cuba to the northwest and Jamaica to the west. And if you're like me, you've probably wondered where the name Haiti came from. It's actually a beautiful tribute to its indigenous roots. In the native Taino language, it means land of the mountains. And let me tell you, that name is spot on. Haiti covers a total area of about 27,750 square kilometres, or 10,700 square miles, and more than 60% of that territory is mountainous. Some of these peaks rise above 8,000 feet, or about 2,400 metres, but the highest point in the entire country is Pic La Selle. This peak, part of the Massif de la Selle range in southeastern Haiti, culminates at an impressive 2,680 metres, or 8,790 feet. This varied, rugged geography is actually part of why the 18th century French colony, Saint-Domingue, was so famous for its wealth. The climate and the varied elevation made it perfect for growing things like sugar and coffee, earning it the nickname, the Pearl of the Antilles. But it's not all peaks and slopes, because Haiti also boasts a spectacular and extensive coastline, stretching for more than 1,500 kilometres, or over 930 miles. This coastline is home to what people call paradisiacal beaches, like those found in La Badie and Île Vache. And tucked into these beautiful, varied landscapes is some truly precious life. Haiti is an ecological treasure trove, which means, despite the challenges, the country has incredible biodiversity, home to approximately 5,600 plant species and several endemic animal species. In fact, places like Makaya National Park are recognised as UNESCO biosphere reserves, precisely because of this exceptional biodiversity. Now, there's a crucial geological detail we need to talk about, and it's something that has defined tragedy in modern Haitian history. The entire island sits right at the edge of a massive geological slab of rock beneath the Earth's surface called a tectonic plate. When these plates shift, they cause earthquakes. Because of Haiti's specific position on this edge, the country has a long and devastating history of very strong earthquakes that cause immense damage. We talked about the 2010 earthquake in the history section, but it's not an isolated event. Like the massive magnitude 7.2 earthquake struck the country again in August 2021. So, as you can see, Haiti's geography is anything but simple. It's spectacular, rugged, mountainous, but it's also a place constantly battling the raw, tectonic power of the earth, which is primarily the reason why they have such a strong, resilient culture. And you see that incredible spirit in every part of daily life. First off, life in Haiti has a deep, communal rhythm. Family isn't just mom and dad. It's often an extended network providing a solid support system, which fosters a strong sense of unity. Just visit any marketplace, and you'll recognise this sense of community immediately. These places are absolutely buzzing with colour and energy, where people buy, sell, and just live. As you walk through the streets, the smells of traditional cuisine will absolutely grab you. And the foundation of nearly all Haitian food is épice, a powerful seasoning paste that acts as the secret source of flavour. So you'll definitely want to try famous dishes like griot, a tasty fried pork, or diri ak jon jon, Haitian black rice. And trust me, you must have pickles on the side. This is a spicy pickled relish, where the spicier, the better. Speaking of food and tradition, there's one culinary tradition with an incredible backstory: soup joumou. This delicious squash soup is traditionally eaten on New Year's Day. Why? Because that day is when Haiti celebrates its liberation from French rule in 1804. Since only the colonists were allowed to drink this soup back then, eating it on Independence Day is a powerful, symbolic act of freedom and reclaiming what was theirs. And that sense of identity is extended to their fashion. If you go to a national celebration, you'll likely see the beautiful traditional dress called the carabela. For women, it's a full-length, often off-the-shoulder dress, usually accented with red lace to symbolise the flag. Men often wear a matching shirt and pant set called a guayabera. These are vibrant symbols of national pride. And we can't talk about national pride without talking about music. Compa is a modern, moving genre with electric guitars and horns, and troubadour is a beautiful, guitar-based style. This music, along with the incredibly colourful murals and sculptures that adorn the streets, shows the world the country's unique and powerful artistic expression, communicating that despite everything we've talked about, like the historical debt, the earthquakes, the modern crisis, Haitians continue to celebrate their culture, preserve their traditions, and face the future with determination and incredible strength. It truly is a testament to the power of the human spirit. So, now I'm throwing this question to you. If you've ever faced a huge, overwhelming challenge in your own life, what gave you the strength to overcome it? Much like the Haitians have done time and time again? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, you'll love this next one.